Malcolm Brogdon unexpectedly retired today, and that leaves the New York Knicks in quite a pickle.
You are Locked On Knicks, your daily New York Knicks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
You are locked on to the New York Knicks. My name is Gavin Schall. I am a New York City native. I'm a credentialed media member that's been covering the Knicks for nearly a decade, and I'm the Saturday co-host of the Locked On NBA podcast. You are Locked On Knicks. This is Locked On Knicks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, your daily podcast on the Knicks, giving the most detailed insight on your favorite team 5 whole days a week. So be sure to join thousands of other Knicks fans in subscribing on both YouTube and your favorite podcast platform for the best insight on your favorite team every single day. Guys, this is not going to be a full show. This is just going to be a little mini, maybe at most 10-minute episode. I just wanted to get out some thoughts on Malcolm Brogdon. We have a very fun guest coming on tomorrow who maybe we'll talk about this a little bit more in depth. And I realize I'm a little late to doing this today, but I decided I didn't want to go to sleep without having something up on it, because I think this big deal would be exaggerating, but I think this is something for the 25-26 Knicks. If you guys have been listening to this podcast for a long time, you know I have long been a fan of Malcolm Brogdon. He's just been, I'm reticent to describe him as one of the elite shooters in the NBA just because his 3-point volume has always been so low, and like the bulk of it is off the catch and not self-created. But he has been an elite efficiency guy for pretty much his whole career. I think one of like 9 or 10 or so players in NBA history put together a 50, 40, 90 season. One of 2 players along with Mike Miller to ever win Rookie of the Year and 6th Man of the Year. Like, the dude just had a killer, awesome career, and is undoubtedly past his apex, right? Like, he is by no means the same guy that robbed Emmanuel Quickly of a 6th Man of the Year 3 seasons ago at this point. And yet I thought he was someone who was going to be incredibly helpful for the Knicks. I was super duper excited when they found a way to go and get him. Shams Charania, in his article on ESPN today, seemed to imply pretty decidedly that Brogdon was going to be on the final roster. I'll read you the quote. Brogdon was slated to be a reserve point guard for the Knicks this season under new coach Mike Brown, so his decision to retire impacts the roster construction. In fact, there was a video, I don't remember who had it, but there was a video of him like moving to New York, and maybe he was just planning on living in New York post-career anyways, and that's still his game plan. But this seems like a very abrupt decision, and I know he put something out just talking about like the physical and mental toll that playing in the NBA as long as taken. And look, like, this is undoubtedly from a guy who's been lauded for his maturity and his character throughout his career, right? If he wasn't going to be all in, this is the right decision. I think he probably felt immense pressure to be 100% sure about this before the Knicks went ahead and traded away Pacome Dadier or Tyler Kolek or cut Garrison Matthews and Landry Shamet, right? Because as you all know, they still had to make a roster move for this to happen. And as our own Chris Persianen reported today on Clutch Points and has said on the show, there's not much of a market for Pacome. There's not much of a market for Tyler. So it was very plausible the Knicks were going to have to give up an asset to move off one of those guys. And I think Malcolm, being the kind of guy that he was, didn't want the Knicks to do that if he wasn't going to be all in, if there's a chance that he would play 10 games and then retire. He wanted to get ahead of this and ultimately give him credit for it. And maybe there's a world where 40 games into the season, he says, you know what, I got some rest. I still have some life left in me. I want to play. And I think this is a guy that probably still does have some good basketball in him, right? I know he has not been super efficient this preseason. At times he's looked outright creaky and old this preseason. Like, we saw some juice in that Wizards game, right? Like, not that Trey Johnson is probably going to be one of the worst defenders in the NBA next year. We saw Malcolm Brogdon just explode by him on a drive for a lefty layup. We saw him with 5 seconds left on the shot clock, recover the ball on the wrong side of the court and go straight downhill on Corey Kispert and throw one in high off the glass, right? We've seen some old man craft to his game. I say this, the guy's 32 years old. I'm 30. I have no right to be calling him old. But in NBA terms, old man craft, right? Like, still throwing some pump fakes. I think the shot, which was not good last year, the guy is historically an awesome shooter. You'll hear the stat on our KFS crossover pod tomorrow, where I mentioned like 5 of the 9 seasons he's been in the NBA, he has been 85th percentile or better from 3-point range for a combo guard. Right, this is a guy who's been a perennial awesome shooter who knows how to run a team and just will. And not that Jordan Clarkson is not a shot creator. Jordan Clarkson might be a better shot creator at this point in his career than Malcolm Brogdon. 94th percentile, 86th percentile, or maybe 85th percentile the last 2 seasons in assist percentage, right? Brogdon is a serious shot creator, and he is fairly pass first at this time in his career. When he shoots, it's going to be a good shot, right? It's going to be a layup or it's going to be an open 3. And just that type of steady hand with the second unit is something the Knicks have been missing. Like, honestly, in some ways, Jalen Brunson's entire run with the Knicks, obviously, Derrick Rose, like before that, gave you some of that. Emmanuel Quickly, I think on the whole, was largely a good decision maker and was a very efficient scorer. So he was close to that profile. Campaign was in some ways a facsimile of that, but he was also kind of erratic, would take bad shots, would have wild drives where he'd miss layups terribly. And Jordan Clarkson is going to be a very up and down experience, and one that I don't necessarily know that the Knicks are consistently going to be able to rely on come playoff time, right? Like I don't know if they want that variation, like when they're in the conference finals playing the Cavs or in the NBA finals playing the Oklahoma City Thunder. And I thought, despite the fact that Clarkson would be a liability too, but Brogdon's going to be a major liability defensively come playoff time. I thought there was a role for him in the rotation of playoffs just because of that decision-making, because he is such a sure thing as a shooter, because he still has like some real downhill ability and finishing ability. Like, based on all the numbers we saw last year, I think he had an A or A+ finishing talent grade on B-Ball Index. Like, offensively, this guy is still a bona fide talent, especially when the Knicks were going to keep him in bubble wrap and probably not play him every night and only play him 14 minutes a game. And there's not an obvious name on the roster to replace what he brings. Maybe the closest thing the Knicks have now, and considering that we'll talk through it, like he likely will not get traded, is probably Tyler Kolek, right? Like, as someone who is just a sublime decision maker. We all saw what was the streak last year, 22 assists in a row with 1 turnover, maybe. Like, he's an elite decision maker on the NBA level. He is a light years better. I don't even want to say functional passer. Like, if you isolate passing talent, he is a dramatically better passer than Malcolm Brogdon. Whether he can consistently create those opportunities as someone who's less of a scoring threat, those certainly showed you something. And we didn't get a huge chance to talk about it after the Wizards game as we were covering the final roster spot. But like, he was cooking in the Wizards game. I could go through some of the plays for you guys. Like, he absolutely dusted. I wrote down Jones. Is it Dylan Jones? It's the guy they traded for from the Thunder. I can't think of his name right now, but he absolutely dusted Jones on a crossover at one point, drew a foul, had just like a nasty screen reject into a quick swing cross court to get a good look at a 3 for Kevin McCullough Jr. One of my favorite plays of the night for him, spin move, ward off Jones, righty layup over Vucevic. That was dirty. Hit KMJ on another laser on a backdoor cut. Had it like an absolutely nasty pass, driving a would-be closeout and sling it with one hand to the opposite corners. He fell out of bounds, led to an extra, and then just like a smooth wing 3 for Diawara. Showed off some real nice scoring craft around the basket, right? Like, couple of bump drives, couple of 1-foot fades, snaking into an elbow jumper. Like, he was just pouring it in the third and fourth quarters. And again, like, you take that with a grain of salt because it was the Wizards. It was essentially like summer league levels of competition versus what NBA defenses will show him in real minutes. But all of a sudden, like, I was ready to wave Tyler Kolek out the door because I said, like, Malcolm Brogdon is just a better player than Tyler Kolek, and it's just a far more confident scorer, far more confident shooter. But we will see the extent to which the Knicks believe in Tyler Kolek, and maybe there's a world now where he plays real minutes. So he plays real minutes like every night that Clarkson misses or that Deuce misses, and he really shows you something, and he gives you like a decent sample of what Brogdon could give you. I think defensively, despite the fact that he's far younger and in his prime athletically, like, he's likely an even worse defender than Brogdon is. Brogdon still had being like 6'4", 6'5", strong and just super smart and savvy on that end of the floor. going for him. So it's a downgrade there. Like, and again, this isn't something that I wouldn't go so far as to say it like dramatically shifts the Knicks title equity, but I'll say one final time. Like, I think he would have played a real role for this team in the playoffs. And I was super excited. And maybe I'm living in La La Land and he's just not that guy anymore. We didn't get to see much of it in the preseason. I wanted to see what it looked like when he played with the starters, right? And you had a Brunson, Brogdon, Mikal, OG, and then either Cat or Mitch, maybe Mitch in some of those lineups for defense. Like, I think those lineups would have blown the doors off other teams. And yes, maybe Deuce is a better version of that at this point in his career, but Brogdon's ability to attack closeouts and just to be a superior passer than Deuce, man, that was really intriguing for me for those lineups. I'm gonna do 2 quick ads, and then we will come back and we will be talking who actually gets the final roster spot. Now we'll get into that in just a sec here on Locked On Knicks. But first, I want to tell you about our good friends over at Monarch Money. Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments. I mean, you don't have the full picture. You can end up leaving money on the table. That's why there's Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. Monarch is built for people with busy lives. If you put off organizing your finances, Monarch is for you. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you. You can link all your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. My favorite part about Monarch Money is they help you maximize your investments, increase your saving rates, and easily review your finances with your partner and or financial advisor. As someone who just has a lot of anxiety about organizing their financial health, the idea of just having a little bit of a clearer view of the short term and the long term just puts me at ease. So don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use our code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with our code LOCKEDONNBA. And we also want to tell you about our good friends over at Gametime. Gametime is the number one place to look for tickets now that basketball season is officially here. And just generally basketball season, nothing beats being in the arena for those opening games. So let's be real. Getting tickets can be a nightmare at times between waiting in queues, surprise fees, and prices that jump right before checkout. It is just so easy to get frustrated when all you want to do is cheer on your team. That's where Gametime comes in, the app that gives fans the advantage. It's your ultimate life hack for scoring amazing NBA tickets fast, easy, and stress-free. I was recently able to use Gametime when I was going to check out the New York Liberty here in Phoenix. I was like 2 blocks away. I was watching NFL games at a bar, and I saw it was close between them and the Merc near the end of the third quarter. I said, let me just look on Gametime and see what tickets are. $4. I got in the building for $4. Their zone deals are a game changer. You can pick the section. Gametime picks your seats and lets you save big. You can even find NBA tickets for under $25. That would be a real steal at MSG. Take the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. That's code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, and go. All right, what up, guys? We are wrapping up this micro edition of Locked On Knicks. It's becoming a little less micro because I am a real gabber. Let's quickly talk final roster spot here. My gut instinct now, given the difficulty, again, check out maybe I'll link it in the episode description, the article from our guy Chris Persianen, because he's a real reporter. He did some reporting on this today. The fact that there's not much of a market for Hakeem Dottie and Tyler Kolek, I think the Knicks were going to trade one of those two guys, not because they don't like them, not because they don't think they could be NBA level rotation players in the future, but because they know they have a golden opportunity this year. And as we've talked about ad nauseum this summer, given the injuries to Halliburton, to Tatum, given the context that the rest of the East is young and on the upswing, but not just like the season savvy killers that litter the Western Conference. The Knicks were going to be all in on this season where they have this full group. They still have Mitchell Robinson. Everyone is smack dab in the middle of their respective primes. They were willing to sacrifice some future equity and some future talent for the guy who gave them the best chance to win today. And for this year's team, that was Malcolm Brogdon, and that was Landry Shamet. I don't think they'll do the same to have Landry Shamet and Garrison Matthews. And that is nothing against Garrison Matthews, who, as we've told you, is the best. What was the best corner three-point shooter in the NBA last season by a substantial margin. That is nominally the number one shot Mike Brown wants this team taking, maybe other than open layups and dunks. So that is a valuable skill set. That is an attractive skill set to Mike Brown, given how he wants his offense to function. I just think on a team that already spent their offseason being so focused on on defense. And that's not to say that Kolek and Pacom on this year's team would be better defenders than Matthews if they needed to play. And maybe that alone will still push the Knicks to trade someone like Kolek. I just think the need shifts now where ideally you have Brunson, you have Clarkson, and those are really the ball handlers on this team. And can Deuce play point guard in a pinch in an emergency? Yeah. And especially with the fact that his handle and his burst look a little bit better this year, even though he got his pocket picked twice in that Wizards game. Maybe he'll be more equipped to play some point guard for you, but it has generally not been good when Deuce McBride, as much of a fan as I am of him, has had to play point guard in his NBA career. And because of that, you would like to have a true blue point guard like Tyler Kolek on this roster post Malcolm Brogdon. I've said it a million times, but Bakum, I think, is just a rare template that the Knicks don't really have on their roster in a guy that is under the age of 28 years old, right? They have Mikal, they have OG, they have Josh Hart. There's not really another person like Pacom Dadier. If you want to squint and you want to say Tosan Iwoma or Kevin McCullough Jr. are actually more ready versions of that archetype. I hear you. I will also push back that given their ages, there is a definitively a lower ceiling on those two. Though the McCullough intrigues me, and I kind of wonder what he can be in time. I would keep Pacom. I think it's just a worthy investment in the future of this team that is not going to have a lot of picks, that is not going to have a lot of financial flexibility. The idea of a 6'8" wing that can shoot and defend, even if there's a ways to go for him to get there, is appealing enough to bet on for at least the second season when you drafted him as an 18-year-old out of Europe and knew he was going to be incredibly raw. So I think because of that, you were ultimately cutting Garrison Matthews, and you were probably going to keep Landry Shamet. And that just comes down to the difference in defense between the two, where Shamet, after not being a sieve, but not being particularly good in the regular season, like he really showed you something in the playoffs with his level of intensity, his fight, his physicality. Garrison Matthews also some of those same qualities. I just think even to the extent that Shamet is just a but this is an understatement, but a subpar NBA athlete. Garrison Matthews is really a subpar NBA athlete on the defensive end of the floor. So you're ultimately going to take Landry Shamet over Garrison Matthews, probably for that reason. And he gives you, 90%, 95% of the shooting that Garrison Matthews brings to the table, and maybe even a little bit more offensively outside of that. So that would be my reasoning. Let me know in the comments if you guys agree. Again, this was just meant to be a mini episode. We will have a full range of content for you guys tomorrow. I wanted to let you know quickly on the way out that today's episode is also brought to you by our good friends over at FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. And it just makes watching football that much more exciting when you have a little bit riding on the action. That is especially true if you're unlucky enough to be a Giants or a Jets fan. Yes, the Giants, thanks to their rookies, 3 of them, by the way, in ESPN's top 10 today, are flashing a little bit of hope, but it's been 12 years of not so good times. And the Jets, don't even get me started. The Jets are just an embarrassment this year. Hopefully they get a quarterback and turn it around. But whether you're a casual fan or love diving into the stats, if you are suffering through this football season, FanDuel, or you know what, even if you're having a great time, FanDuel makes the game day experience just that much better. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. All right, guys, thank you so much. This has been Locked On Knicks. Tune in the AM. We're talking to Jonathan Macri and Jeremy Cohen about a whole bunch of fun stuff, a bunch of bold predictions, including a championship prediction. The first time we've ever gotten a championship prediction in our 6 years or so doing this. So stay tuned for that tomorrow. Until then, be good. We'll talk to you soon. You're on Locked On Knicks.